Good evening. I call to order this work session of Knox County Commission for Monday, July 17th, 2023. Seated to my right is Vice Chairwoman Terry Hill and Law Director Moyers when he gets back. Seated to my left is Miss Kim Ellis and Miss Haley Evans with the Knox County Clerk's Office. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lundy,
Here.
Commissioner Derritt,
Here.
Commissioner Oster,
Here.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Beeler,
Here.
Commissioner Daly,
Here.
Commissioner Jay,
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
All 11 members are present.
We do have a quorum. I will look to Commissioner Jay to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you are able, please stand, render a proper salute, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Thank you. Commissioners, tonight we have one addition. It is R-23-7-906. There should be a copy of it in front of you. We will come to that one at the end of our government resolutions. Deferrals include items 31, 34 through 36, and 41. There are no withdrawals. Non-consent items include 1 through 7, 17, 19, 20, and 39. I'll repeat those. Non-consent items 1 through 7, 17, 19, 20, and 39. Are there any additional comments to our agenda? Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So will the to-be-added resolution 906 be 39, and then the ordinance be 40, and subsequent numbers change after that, kind of? Because you have two 39s. Just for the
Yes,
clerk.
it could be 38A. We're just going to discuss it before we get to ordinances on first reading.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to set the agenda as amended?
Motion to set the agenda. Second.
Motion to set the agenda by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Jay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our agenda is set. Madam Clerk, will you read us our first item?
Item number 1 is Resolution 101. It's honoring Autry O.V. Pete DeBusk for all his efforts to promote volunteerism, jobs, education, and giving back to the community.
Is there a motion for this item?
Yes, I make a motion to move forward without any recommendations. Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Lee with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 2 is Resolution 102. It's honoring Laura Bailey for her extensive volunteerism, support, love, and work for the PAL community.
And make a motion to move forward without any recommendations. Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Lee with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 3 is a presentation of the quarterly Fire and Technical Rescue Committee report by Director Brent Seymour.
Welcome, Mr. Seymour. If you would please state your name and business address for the record.
Sure. It's Brent Seymour, 1630 Huron Street, 37917.
And if you don't mind, can you angle the microphone
Sure.
closer? Thank you. The floor is
How's
yours.
this a little better?
Yes.
So June 14th, we held our bi-monthly Fire and Technical Rescue Committee meeting. In that meeting, our new officers were elected for the upcoming term. Unanimously, Chief Jerry Harnish with Rural Metro was voted the committee chair. Chief Darren Long from Carnes was voted the vice chair. And Chief John Linsenbigler from Seymour Fire was voted as the finance chair subcommittee for the finance chair. We obviously couldn't get out of there without recognizing Mr. Vandevate for all the work he's done from the conception of this committee up until last month. We appreciate all of his efforts, basically taking this committee from the foundation up and bringing it to where it is now. And we really appreciate it. Appreciate everything he did for us there and he did for the committee. Also, with the retirement of Larry Hutzel as the Emergency Response Coordinator for the Health Department, Steve Hamby has since filled that role, and that is also a position on the Fire and Technical Rescue Committee. So we're happy to have Steve there, and we welcome his input as well. At the committee, we presented the CTAS report, which you all got to see, an abbreviated version of what we looked at there. Some 911 dispatch protocols were gone over for our respective agencies within the county. And then the advanced Knox presentation was given at that also, so we could kind of see where our housing trends and our infrastructure trends were going to go over the next several years. Traditionally, as you guys may know, the north end and west end of the county continue to be the busiest for emergency response calls. So far, for the last 3 months, 3,329 calls were medical calls. This is countywide. 260 calls for structure fires, and again, as you're aware, those calls that's regardless of what is found when the fire department arrives. It could be smoke, it could be fire, it may be something as small, I say small, maybe something as small as maybe just a pot on the stove that got the fire department to the address. And then 1,911 of those calls were what we consider other, and that could be lift assist, that could be hazmat, that could be non-emergency calls to check an odor or something like that. So we just classify those as others. One of the big things that we're proud of, and we're proud of our departments that do on a continual basis, is fire public education. Especially this time of year with the end of school, the fire safety house is out there. I was speaking with Captain Bagwell earlier, and I see a lot of the posts. We're out in subdivisions. We're talking to homeowners. We're doing home safety inspections. We're doing home safety checks to make sure that any kind of trends we may see that could cause an issue, that we educate those homeowners on how to prevent the fire department from showing up unwanted. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight during the report was the Carnes Fire Department participated in 16 public education events over the last 90 days, and they installed 20 smoke alarms and as many batteries. That smoke alarm program is something that obviously citizens in the county can call their community departments and have those installed. If they don't have one, property owners can call and get those done. They also participated in over 1,300 hours of training, which included technical training, rope, collapse, trench, confined space, things of that nature. Knox County Rescue has developed a recruitment video that they have put out to try to encourage folks to volunteer for their organization. And their specialty teams have completed over 100 hours of training in the last 90 days for their technical, the trench, the collapse, the rope. A lot of those specialty teams, as you may know, those are low frequency, which means they don't happen often, and they're very high risk events, which they could, usually the victim is hurt pretty bad, and it has potential to get the responders hurt as well. So training is the utmost for those types of events. They don't happen very often, so really the way you get the experience is by doing the repetitive training over and over. And the rescue squad still continues to be a springboard for folks who are interested in emergency services. That's a great place to volunteer and get your foot in the door, so to speak. As I mentioned earlier, Rural Metro has done a ton of public education events over the last 3 months. Now the weather's, I say, getting warmer. I don't know, I think it went from 0 to 90. So they're out in the subdivisions educating the public, talking to the kids, trying to get that safety message out there. But one of the other things we're really proud of is Rural Metro has developed a wildland task force. These folks on this task force have had what we call red card training, or the official level of wildland emergency training. They have equipment to support a wildland emergency team. That team is deployable not only countywide but regional, and it can be deployed nationally if called upon to do so. That equipment is based at the Corkton Firehouse. They've got the room out there to house that equipment, and the space around the firehouse is a great place to train. And so that's really predominantly why those assets are out there. And we're really happy to have those in the system. Seymour, in the spring of each year, partners with the city fire department so they can use their fire safety trailer as well. They get into the schools and talk to the kids, second, third, fourth grade classes, and do the fire safety house and show them the dangers that could be in the house and how to mitigate those and avoid those dangers. And we know for a fact that some of those have paid off, because we've had instances where our departments have arrived on scene and some of the kids in the house have said, I talked to firefighter Smith and he taught us how to get out of this house. Or my homework assignment was to find 2 ways out of every room. And that's how come we're outside next to the mailbox. So we know those programs we're doing are paying dividends, and we're really proud of that. The last thing I would ask, and I know you guys do it every time you're out, is when you're out talking to your constituents, please continue to encourage them to support the fire departments that provide service in their communities. I know you guys do that. I don't think it ever hurts to hear that more than once. And so we really appreciate all the efforts you guys do to help support the fire and rescue departments in the county. And I look forward to seeing you up here every 90 days.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Commission, does anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you so much. We appreciate you. That takes us to public forum. We do not have anyone signed up to speak. So our next item would be approval of minutes. Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 4, drives and roads. Acceptance of the new county roads. A is Lazy River Drive. B, River House Road. They're located in Creek Bend Farms, Unit 7, District 6. C, Otter Run Lane. D, Willow Path Lane. E, Ivy Branch Lane. F, Sandy Creek Lane. And G, Rocky Stream Lane. They're all located in Willow Creek Villas, District 7.
Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Daly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Number 5 is consideration of the closure of Parsonage Lane off West Dick Ford Lane on second reading.
Motion to stand with no recommendation.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Item number 6, consideration of a closure of an unbuilt portion of Old Tazewell Pike from near Pebble Brook condos to Murphy Road in Commission District 8, second reading.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation.
Second.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
There are no line item transfers. There are budget amendments, total amount of $2,873,710.04.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Commissioner Schoonmaker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Reiswick, would you mind coming to the podium for just a minute, please, sir? Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me a moment of personal privilege. Dr. Reiswick, I would just like to personally recognize you on your efforts that you did on behalf of a certain high school in my district. I have been working with your three predecessors and got nowhere with that project. And you realize the importance of making that happen. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for doing that. I appreciate what you and your team did. The staff is totally thrilled at Farragut High School, and they couldn't be happier. So what your efforts went above and beyond, and I do appreciate it, and the community appreciates it as well.
Well, thank you, and I'd say to Dr. Adams and his team for facilities, and I know working with the county too, and Jim Snowden, and trying to make sure we could get that right across the board. So, so thanks. Appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Page 4, item number 17. Resolution 110 is accepting the resignation of Ray Jenkins as judicial magistrate for Knox County and appointing an individual to complete the unfulfilled term of Mr. Jenkins, with such term to expire June 30th, 2025.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move forward without recommendation.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Commissioners, I see 3 applicants in our audience. I will call them up to speak and feel free to ask questions. We'll treat this process as we do any other appointment to a board. And I do want to recognize that Judge Cerny is here as an elected official. I appreciate you being here for this. So first on my list is Mr. Spencer Reed. If you would please, sir, approach the podium. State your name and county of residence.
My name is Spencer Reed. I'm a resident of Knox County.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Reed, would you like to give us some background?
Yes. Good evening, commissioners. For those that haven't had the opportunity to meet with me, I'm a native to Knox County. I was born and raised here. Went to Webb School of Knoxville. Later, I went to College Charleston, where I triple majored in biochemistry, chemistry, and molecular biology. Later, I went to Charleston Law. I practiced for about 3 years in South Carolina doing real estate transactions before I moved
Can you
back
get into
home.
the mic? Can you lean in? I'm sorry, it's hard to hear.
Can you hear me now? I eventually moved back home in 2015, where I started my own law firm, primarily doing criminal defense. I've had the opportunity to serve my county representing indigent clients. I've represented over 400 at this time. In addition, in 2020, I was sworn in as a substitute magistrate, where I've subbed for over, I believe, 100 shifts now. If I was given the opportunity to be a magistrate, I had the opportunity or the know-how to immediately fill the position. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'll open the floor to questions for Mr. Reed. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reed, are you a registered voter in Knox County?
I am.
Okay, and then you said you've done 100 shifts as a substitute magistrate?
Correct.
Okay, did you have to do any special training as a substitute?
The training involves sitting with one of the magistrates for an X amount of hours. I forgot how many the requirement was.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reed, do you have anything in your background that you think that this commission would need to know about your experience or anything that would make you not a good candidate for this position?
Can you clarify the question?
Okay. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Reckless driving about a decade ago.
Were you required to do any type of treatment for that?
No.
And how long have you been practicing law?
I was first barred in South Carolina in 2011. I took the Tennessee bar in 2012.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reed, can you tell us a little bit more about how you came to be selected as a substitute magistrate and what that process was like, and ultimately what are a couple of most important things you've learned in serving in the role that we are appointing for?
I'm not sure how the selection process took place. I'm not sure how the selection process took place. I was approached by one of the judges and asked if I would like to fill the position, and I agreed. And the second part of your question?
Just what have you learned about what are the most important things about serving in this role and actually doing the job?
You got to weigh the interest of course, justice. If the charge should lay, and you also have to take into account the defendant's rights. It's kind of a weighing act.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reed, are you have your own practice at this time?
Correct.
And if you are selected, are you intending to keep your practice?
I do not.
It's sounds like this is a full-time job, well paid full-time job. So I just want to make sure that you pay strict attention to the magistrate's job. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Reed, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Mr. Troy Jones. Mr. Jones, please approach the podium and state your name and county of residence for the record.
My name is Troy Jones, I live in Knox County.
Thank you. Would you like to give us some background
Yes, ma'am. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee.
and also speak into the mic? There is a button. There we go. That
Yes,
mic.
ma'am. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee. Went to high school and graduated from Holston High School. That's no longer there anymore. And attended University of Tennessee. Graduated from Tusculum University. Went to law school in District Columbia School of Law. Started practicing here in Knoxville with J.D. Lee. I do personally injury mostly, and I do about 15% of criminal. I've practiced law in federal court, Knox County courts, surrounding counties, doing both civil and criminal. I think I'll fit the bill for a magistrate.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I'll open the floor for questions. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are you a registered voter in Knox County?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, and then have you ever substituted before?
No, sir, I've been trained for substitution
Okay,
as a magistrate.
so you went through
I went
the
through the
training
training.
that's offered to be a substitute?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jones, I'll ask you the same questions I asked Mr. Reed. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
I have.
Okay. Would you tell this commission about that?
Oh, yes. I was convicted of drug trafficking in federal court by Judge Jordan. I served my sentence. I came back out and went through the TLAP program, which I am now on the board of TLAP for Tennessee Trial Lawyers and the Tennessee Board of Association.
Congratulations for completing that program. When you submitted your resume for the magistrate, did you inform the judges about your conviction?
No, ma'am. It was not on the application.
Okay.
I'm licensed by the Supreme Court to practice law in Tennessee.
Did you not feel you had any ethical duty to let the judges know about that?
No, ma'am. I'm licensed to practice law in Tennessee.
I understand. And you also served in the Navy, is that correct?
The Marines.
Marines, okay. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome, ma'am.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay? Okay. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jones, your current occupation is what now? I'm sorry.
Personal injury attorney.
And if you're selected, will you dedicate 100% of your time to this magistrate's job?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oster?
Mr. Jones, were you interviewed by any of the judges, or how did the process work when?
I submitted an application and I was interviewed with Judge Cerny.
Okay.
He asked me about that same conviction, and he said that he will still honor his nomination of me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Schoonmaker? Commissioner Lundy?
Can you explain what the magistrate does?
Yes. The magistrate runs a shift of 12 hours, 7 to 7, either evening shift or daytime shift. And they are there to sign the warrants, review them from the officers, and see if they have probable cause to issue that warrant. If the warrant is, or the complaint is a matter that maybe that not on your top of your head that you use the Tennessee trial pattern jury instructions to make sure that the officer has put all the facts into the warrant to make sure it's valid for a valid warrant.
Thank you.
And you also set the bond. And the bond is set, you have felonies, misdemeanors, you'll set it as the severity of the crime. Not just to punish the person that's accused, but to protect the society and make sure they come to court.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jones? Seeing none, thank you, sir, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
And last on my list is Mr. Daniel Herrera. Mr. Herrera, if you would please approach the podium, state your name and county of residence for the record.
Thank you very much. Daniel Herrera, Knox County.
Thank you. Would you like to give us some background, please?
Thank you. First and foremost, good evening, Commission. My name is Daniel Herrera. For those who don't know me, I'm a licensed attorney here in Knoxville. I started my practice back in April 2020, right in the bottom of COVID. Actually, it's when the state actually first shut down. So I was able to build my practice from really the bottom of the ocean, essentially. So my primary practice is really two areas. It's family law and it's criminal defense. Now, how does that work with the magistrate's office? The magistrate's office is the first stop whenever somebody is arrested as to determining whether or not the warrant has enough has established probable cause in order to send that warrant up to the General Sessions Court. If the magistrate does not find probable cause, the magistrate has a duty to dismiss that warrant. It is important to have a magistrate who has criminal history background or a background in criminal defense. Because it's important to have somebody who has actually been in the General Sessions Courts, who has talked to the district attorneys, the assistant district attorneys, to negotiate the plea negotiations and to examine those warrants with the DA to ensure that maybe it's something that the magistrate should have dismissed, or maybe it's not quite what the charge was and it should be reduced to a lesser sentence. So for the past few years, I have pretty much lived in the General Sessions Courts. And I have not only done General Sessions Courts, but I've also been in the criminal courts. In fact, I had a second-degree murder trial just about 2 or 3 weeks ago that wrapped up in Anderson County. So I've done the whole process of the essentially criminal litigation. Now, why is it also important to practice in family law, right? The importance there is to understand that there's something called an ex parte, right, when you file for an order of protection. And we do that all the time. And it's my understanding that the magistrate's office does review petitions for order of protections. And to ensure that burden is met is not only very important to the office, but it also shows that the respondent or the person receiving that, their rights are also being carefully considered. So with that said, I feel like I can do a great service to our general sessions judges. I feel like I can do a great service to that office. I was not a substitute magistrate, but I did train with them. And it stopped up until the point of getting sworn in. And I've sat down, I've saw the arraignment process. I saw the process of reviewing the warrants, speaking to the officers, having a good relationship with them, giving them a better understanding of what a good warrant should include. And because of that experience, I think I would do a great job here. And I think I would support our general sessions judges. And I think not only ensuring that the warrants are done correctly and that our officers can rely on the magistrate's office, but also understanding that the defendants have rights, and those rights need to be protected under our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Herrera, are you a registered voter in Knox County?
I am.
Okay. And it looks like on your resume here that you've served for 145 shifts as a substitute magistrate.
No, sir. No, I did not serve as a substitute magistrate.
Am I reading the wrong thing? I'm reading the whole, excuse me. You've never served as a, okay.
Yes.
You've not served as a substitute magistrate.
That's correct.
But you've taken the training to do it?
Yes, and I've done the night shifts.
Okay,
Those,
gotcha,
7 to 6.
gotcha. Okay, that's where that's where my notes were different. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Herrera, first of all, I'll ask you the same question I asked Mr. Jones and Mr. Reed. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Never.
Okay. You said you took the training. Can you elaborate on that and why you never did officially substitute?
Yeah, absolutely. So the training, so how it started was I heard that you can become a magistrate office, or a substitute magistrate. So I called the magistrate's office to see if they had any availability. That's when Chief Magistrate Christopher Rowe informed me that there was a training that you can do. So one night, at his 7 o'clock shift, I think it was a Thursday, I go down to the magistrate's office. He sits me down. He shows me the GYMS program that they use, shows me how to conduct the arraignment, shows me how the process is for the officer to come in and go review the warrant and essentially make sure that the warrant meets the probable cause standard that's required. And I didn't stay the whole shift, but I stayed enough to see what the process was, and I felt comfortable enough where I told Chief Rowe that I'd like to continue with this, and we got to the point where I got set up on GYMS. I got a Knox County account, but the swearing in part just never happened. I was informed that they just didn't have a need for another substitute, and at that point I thanked them and I thanked the office, and I asked them to just keep me in mind going forward if there's any vacancies.
How many hours did you spend with Mr. Rowe?
It had to be, because it wasn't just with Chief Rowe. I did it in the mornings as well with the other substitutes and with the other magistrates. I wouldn't say it's probably about, without looking at my record, probably about 35 hours.
And did you interview with the judges?
I did not.
You did not?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rare, same question. You got your own practice, so will
Yes.
you be willing to make this a full-time job?
Yes, and I can tell you why. This is a full-time job, and even though I have my own practice, I won't take any more cases. I do have 3 employees total. I have 2 other attorneys that I have employed, and I've also have a paralegal as well. And I've already informed them that if I am blessed with this opportunity, that I am no longer going to be taking any more cases, and the cases that I have currently are going to be divided amongst my attorneys. And any conflicts with criminal defendants, we'll make sure we apply and abide by the rules of professional responsibility.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Herrera, probably aware that the judges sent all of the commissioners a letter of recommendation for 2 nominations. These are 5 of our most esteemed legal professionals that lead our county, and they sent forward a letter of recommendation for Mr. Reed and Mr. Jones. When I look at the pedigrees of all of our applicants, I wonder, with Mr. Reed having over 100 shifts actually serving in a substitute magistrate position, and 10 years of legal experience. Mr. Jones having extensive legal experience and 7 to 10 years in the trenches. How do you think that you're more qualified for this position, having essentially 3 years of experience as a lawyer and no practical experience in the judicial system as a magistrate?
Sure. No, that's a fair question. To be honest, I've been in the trenches. I've lived in the general sessions courts. I've done everything from your probable cause hearings, your preliminary hearings, to plea by informations up in the criminal court, as well as going to trial. Like I said, I just wrapped up a second-degree murder trial just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, this is not just something. This is not a practice of area that I just dabble in. This is my primary practice, and the criminal defense work it's a lot of work. And when you start going into the general sessions courts and you start understanding how the prosecutors are and understanding that not every time an officer gets the warrant right? That it's important to take that feedback that you learn from the district attorney's office and maybe taking that and applying it while being magistrate to ensure that the officers, whether it's the Knox County Sheriff's Office or Knoxville Police, that those warrants then at that point go forward. It's about it's more. You can say it's kind of like an educational experience for everyone, right? We want to make sure our officers are doing the right thing and having examined countless warrants, not just here in Knox County. I mean, I'm talking all over East Tennessee. I feel that I am qualified for this position.
And why didn't you seek to meet with the 5 judges who make those nominations and seek out one of their nominations?
I wasn't familiar with the process, Commissioner Jay. I knew the announcement happened because of the Knoxville Bar Association that announced the vacancy, and that's when I guess I just assumed that submitting an application or a resume that judges would reach out and maybe speak, and they're not obligated to by any means. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for our general sessions judges. Please don't take what I'm taking today as a hit on them. I think they're fine judges. I just want to throw my hat in for consideration as well. I do think that with my resume, my experience, that I could do a better job than our other applicants. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is really general questions that I would like to ask if Judge Cerny wouldn't mind answering those. So if we want to wrap up, and I'll let anyone else ask Mr. Herrera if they have questions. And thank you to all the applicants who applied. I mean, I applaud you for wanting to serve in this capacity, and I'm very grateful.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Herrera? Seeing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Judge Cerny, would you mind approaching the podium, please? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Cerny, and I'm a resident of Knox County.
Hello, Judge Cerny. It's good to see you.
It's very nice to see you, and it's good to be together again.
Yes, thank you for being here.
And not covered with mud and playing volleyball.
Yeah, this is a little nicer, isn't it? I just had some general questions about the process.
I'll do my best.
Being new to commission, so I'm going to just kind of put my questions out there, and if then you will address them as you see fit. One is just curious, what is the application process, and what is the criteria for recommendations from the judges? Second, how many applications were received? Third, were all interviewed by the judges? And my last question, how many candidates have been recommended to commission in the past? So we'll start with the first one. What is the application process and the criteria?
The application process is applicants, there was a notice put in the Bar Association publication, and applicants turned in their resumes. They would, in the normal course, apply with county commission to be appointed, and then they'd have to be approved by the 5 sessions judges. Historically, some years ago, county commission chose to approach the judges and say, we have this pool of applicants. Instead of us appointing folks that you would not approve, give us a list of who you would approve. And so we have historically done that, which is what our letter is all about. Those are the applicants we would approve. And so it does kind of flip the process on its head, but that is the law. And then that's our adaptation and our practical application of the law. So those are the applicants we would approve.
How many applications did you receive?
About 9 or 10-ish.
And were
I
all of
think.
those applicants invited for an interview, or
We
is
did
that
not
part of the process?
necessarily invite applicants for interviews. Where there was some contact by some of them, and of course, a good many of them are actually my friends. So I try to be accessible to my friends, and so I did speak with several.
And then in the
Informal.
past, typically, how many applicants have been recommended? Does it just depend on the number of applications received, or?
It would depend on the number of applications received, and I'm certain that we have sent to county commission on 1 or 2 occasions, perhaps, one applicant that we would approve. I'm certain that we've sent 5, 6, just depending on who the applicants are. And what we relied upon is the resumes of the applicants, the experience level that they had with respect to training and substituting, and then their performance in court or personal contacts with them in the context of having cases in court.
So it's not customary for commission to receive copies of all resumes of the applicants, only those that are recommended?
I've got them on my desk with other stuff that I should probably put in a file somewhere, but I can dig it out from all the other stuff that I feel guilty about not reading but not shredding. I'm working on my organization, trying to get better at that.
Thank you, Judge
I
Cern.
do have the applications if you're really curious.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner
Any other
Daly?
questions?
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening.
It's very nice to see you.
Yeah. I brought the question up to all the candidates about, will this be their full-time job? Not too long ago, we've had some substitutes that we taxpayers, I think, are getting double.
I'm sorry, say it again.
The taxpayers, not too long ago, we had an issue with a magistrate not being there, and we're having to pay a substitute. Taxpayers are paying twice. This is a full-time job. They need to be there. They need to be working. How many substitutes do you have?
Oh, gosh. I think at this point,
Just
3.
kidding. 3?
3.
And why would a substitute need to be there?
Substitute, we do have a prescribed amount of vacation and personal leave time that a magistrate is entitled to. Magistrates do on occasion become ill. We did in fact have a magistrate who apparently successfully, even though he's had a difficult battle, has prevailed over cancer. And so he did have some substitute time. Now, those things having been said, I've been presiding judge for a little while. I had the privilege of being presiding judge for double shift because last year Judge Stansberry very graciously allowed me to bypass that responsibility. I was kind of busy, but so I've been presiding judge for a little shy of a year now. One of the things that has come to my attention is we need to do a little better with respect to our organization of scheduling with our magistrates. And in fact, a meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. I anticipate we'll be working hard to be ready for any scrutiny that we may have with respect to seeing to it that the magistrates do what the general sessions judges do, which is when we're called upon and when needed, we substitute for each other. I'm often called upon, and the other 4 sessions judges do a really beautiful job of taking on hearings when we have a busy docket and there are multiple hearings getting stacked up. We cover each other's shifts when we have illness or doctor's appointments, that sort of thing. So we're going to be working at helping the magistrates with their scheduling and organization, and I anticipate that that will be happening quickly.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate you doing that because it's taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, when you had stated that you had 9 or 10 applications in.
I think
that were
that's right.
Okay. And then
10.
was there, I'm not sure if Commissioner Frazier asked this or not, but how many actually were interviewed out of those 9 or 10?
There was no formal interview process.
Okay, so nobody, it was just the resume, you recognize the name or not, but nobody was.
Candidly, Mr. Reed and I passed by each other in the hall with some frequency.
Okay.
And Mr. Jones and I have had cases together where he's done a laudable job of representing his clients.
Okay.
Mr. Herrera has also been in court as well, and so I've had the opportunity to befriend him as well. So.
Okay. And then who are the 3 substitute magistrates?
Spencer Reed. Ben Stollard. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ben. Okay. Does she want to come to the
Finnan.
podium?
Douglas Finnan.
And who?
He was a substitute, though. Yes, sir. But he was not one of the substitutes. He did not apply for a permanent position. We're using fewer substitutes because it's taxpayer dollars, right, Commissioner Daly?
So who was the 3rd one then? I'm sorry.
Doug Finnan has been a substitute magistrate.
Okay, and then of any of the 3 that are currently substitute magistrates, did any of those apply for the position?
Spencer Reed.
Okay, so he's the one that is the most trained.
He's been trained some time ago, and he's actually served shifts. He's done this job.
Okay, now was he on your list of recommendations to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. We've already interviewed.
Thank you. He was? Thank you. A gentleman by the name of Sterling Walsh.
Thank you.
One name I missed.
Thank you. Commissioner, go ahead.
I'm privileged to be near a microphone and have so many esteemed colleagues and elected officials listening to me talk. Can we keep doing this? This is fun.
Well, there are several more lights on, so yes. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, you all have submitted a nomination letter with 2 names on it. What would happen if someone was selected that was not on the choices of the top of the 5 judges that submitted that letter?
We would respectfully decline.
We would start this process all over?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that, and for responding to me also. That's very much appreciated, Judge. The question about magistrates having another practice or working on the side, is there any type of a rule prohibiting that?
We would certainly not want to see that magistrate defend criminal cases in Knox County based on the fact that there could be a very serious conflict of interest. There have been occasions historically where magistrates have undertaken to have an abbreviated or reduced civil practice only, so long as they're not adversely impacting their responsibilities as a magistrate.
All right. Is there any? So there's not an understanding that if someone is selected and they're working a side job, so to speak, that that is not allowed?
There is no specific rule or law that I'm aware of. It's highly recommended.
Okay.
And it is part of our considerations.
Okay. I did receive the letter that you sent to all of us, and you did have 2 names on that. And
Did we catch all the typos?
oh, and I couldn't tell you that because I'd probably miss them same as you might. So, and I understand that in the end that you judges have veto power over anyone that we were to select anyway. Is that,
That's a term I wouldn't have chosen to use, but if that's how to better understand the process, then so be it, I suppose.
all right? And in effect, and I really had a difficult time even understanding why we the commission were in this process, and I did ask Mr. Moyers to review that law for me. So with your permission, Madam Chair, I'd like him to just kind of give us a quick overview exactly of what the law says in regard to a magistrate appointment.
Sure. This is governed by Tennessee Code Annotated 40-1-111, which is kind of a funky statute because it's one of those where the legislature has gone in and kind of tinkered and has provisions that are aimed at particular counties. So, for example, paragraph A1A states that the chief body of any county having a population of not less than 200,000 or a population of not less than 276,000, nor more than 277,000, according to the 1970 census or any subsequent census, may appoint, and the chief legislative body of any county having a population of over 800,000, according to the 1970 federal census or any subsequent federal census, may initially appoint one or more judicial magistrates. Now, as it happens, in the 1970 federal census, Knox County had a population between 276,000 and 277,000. So this was clearly aimed at Knox County and no other county. Now, so that's where you get the authority to appoint the magistrates. But when you go down to 41111 subparagraph small c, what it says is that notwithstanding any provision of this section to the contrary, in any county having a population of not less than 276,000, nor more than 277,000, according to the 1970 federal census or any subsequent federal census, any appointment of a judicial commissioner pursuant to subsection A, which I just read to you, shall be subject to the approval by a majority of the general sessions judges in the county. So this is a provision that appears to be unique to Knox County. I couldn't tell you the genesis of it. Judge Cerny might be able to. But in any event, that's what we're working with. So the appointment authority is yours, but with the consent of the judges. So as Judge Cerny said, over the years, this process has evolved so that we don't get in a situation where a person is appointed that the judges find to be unacceptable and we have to come back the next month and do it all again. So that's why we do it the way we do it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And that, I know you know that. That was for the rest of us, too.
I've got a great lawyer. I call on Mr. Moyers every time I have a question.
I appreciate that. So in a nutshell, what I'm understanding about this process is you all have sent us 2 candidates that you feel like are the best applicants for the position. And in effect, those are our 2 that we need to choose from, because if we do not, if we choose another applicant, that it will be overridden. Is that, I mean, that's it in a nutshell, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I just wanted to be sure I understand it top to bottom.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Judge Cerny, Benjamin Stallard is a current substitute. Is there a reason he wasn't selected in the finalists?
The judges have unanimously sent to you the 2 applicants we would approve. And
did you interview Mr. Jones before you selected him?
as I said before, there was no formal interview process. I myself have had several cases with Mr. Jones, and the other judges all have had cases with the 2 applicants that are in the letter.
So have you discussed Mr. Jones' convictions?
Yes, I was aware of Mr. Jones's convictions, not at the time the letter was signed and sent, but I have become aware, and he's been candid with me about them. and he's also a licensed attorney who has passed the ethics requirements to be a member of the Tennessee Bar. So we've relied on the Board of Law Examiners to thoroughly vet him, and I would anticipate that the impression that we have had of him when he's practiced in court being favorable. That's something that is likewise, I would say the bar concurs in that.
And Judge Cerny, to your knowledge, has Mr. Jones substituted as a magistrate?
I believe that he's received training. He's as good a source of information of that, and his comments here tonight indicate that he's received formal training from our chief magistrate row, if I understand correctly. I don't think he's actually served a shift.
Thank you.
One of the most important things about this position is if I was on high school sports teams, I wasn't good. As a matter of fact, I didn't pass the fitness test for the chess team at my high school. But one of the things that we found on our American team sports is that there are certain kids who really do an excellent job of fulfilling their responsibilities that the coach gives them. Spend a little extra time in the weight room to get ready, all that stuff. But they don't make a lot of noise, and they don't require a lot of maintenance. We've had a recent situation that required a lot of maintenance and attention, and it's harmed our county. But what's expected of our magistrates is that they quietly do their job excellently without attracting a lot of attention to themselves, because any attention would be negative. And so as a result, I think that with the current pool of applicants, we have recommended 2, and we would appreciate your picking one.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lundy?
I just want to say this. Thank you, Judge Cerny, for coming up here. And I feel like there's more focus on Attorney Troy Jones' conviction than whatever Spencer said that he done in the past. So I would like to call Troy Jones back up, and I want to know how old he was and how long that conviction was.
Does that mean I have to sit down?
I guess if they're finished. Thank you.
Judge
Thank
Cerny,
you again.
Judge Cerny, there's one more question for you, and then Mr. Jones, if you would please. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks again. I just want to make sure I got this clear here. So the Benjamin Stallard who did send us a resume, he is not in the audience here tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in looking at his resume, it says he's been a substitute magistrate for approximately 3 years. And he's one of the 3 that you guys call on. And he did fill out an application to be considered. And apparently with over 145 shifts, that's pretty substantial, I would guess, as a substitute magistrate. But yet, the judges want him to be a substitute, but not a judicial magistrate. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
At this time, we have sent a letter with 2 of the applicants who we would approve, Commissioner.
Okay. And then again, none of the applicants were interviewed at all for this process.
There was no formal interview process. And as I've said, we relied on the resumes, the experience, and our personal contacts with the lawyers, because as you might imagine, we've seen them perform in court.
Okay. But you're not talking, when you say experience, you're talking about law experience, not judicial
Experience as a substitute or a person who's been trained.
So a substitute who's got 3 years is not as good as somebody who has no years. Well,
There are five elected judges.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for being honest with us.
Any more questions for Judge Cerny? I'm afraid that does mean you have to sit down now. But thank you so much for your insight. Mr. Jones? Thank you again.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Lundy?
Yes, it seemed like this are focused on your conviction of the past. Can you tell me how old you were when you were convicted?
That's 28 years ago.
Will you speak into the mic?
It was 28 years ago. I was 27, 26 years old.
Okay. And from that time, you have been able to earn your degree,
Yes, ma'am.
pass your bar.
I am. I'm
Practice.
born in Tennessee. I'm
And-
also the Southern Trial Lawyers Vice President, and I'm also the Tennessee Trial Lawyers East Tennessee Vice President for Tennessee. All elected from that, and they also know about my conviction.
Thank you. Also, with that, do you help other attorneys that may have had a similar conviction or having some issues? Do you help them go through that process of coping?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've been appointed by the Supreme Court for the Tennessee Trial Lawyers Assistance Program. Okay. I was appointed by the Supreme Court of Tennessee to be on the board of Tennessee Trial Lawyers Professional Program. It's TTLA. In this program, we go all over the state of Tennessee helping other lawyers been convicted of crimes or depression or drugs or alcohol or just the stress of practicing law. What we do in this program, we get them a help. We put them in programs, assistance programs. We go in and do intervention for them. If they call the board or another lawyer tells us about it, there's lawyers all over the state and judges that if another lawyer sees this or impairment, they contact us and then we go and talk to them and get them into the program. And we see them all the way through it until they come out on the other side as regular lawyers.
Thank you so much. Redemption is real. Thank you for telling us your story, and thank you,
welcome.
Spencer, for sharing yours. I don't think that has anything to do with our past, as long as we can overcome. And yeah, I don't think that unqualifies you for this position or any other position that your heart desires. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? The motion on the floor is to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Seeing no further lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is number 19. It's Resolution 112, and I'll read the revised version. It is accepting the resignation of Janice Turpinny from the Tennessee Technology Corridor Development Authority, TTCDA, Board of Commissioners, and approving the appointment of Timothy Wilson to complete the unfulfilled term of Ms. Turpinny on the TTCDA, which term expires April 30th, 2025. The members are nominated by the governor upon recommendations received from the county mayor and approved by the commission.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 20 is Resolution 113, and I'll also be reading the revised resolution. It is approving the appointments of Sage Collier for a term expiring April 30th, 2027, and Patrick Brown for a term expiring April 30th, 2028 on the Tennessee Technology Corridor Development Authority, TTCDA, Board of Commissioners. The members are nominated by the governor upon recommendations received from the county mayor and approved by the commission.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Yes.
Okay. The next item is not listed on the agenda, but it was added. It's Resolution 237906. It's granting authority to the Knox County Planning Commission to delegate to staff final plat approval for subdivisions up to 25 units.
Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Daly, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Law Director,
Yes, sir.
all the plats that are, we got an email stating that maybe the plats that were approved are not legal. Is that true or not true, or do we need to go back and rectify this?
Well, that's what this resolution is seeking to do.
Okay.
Since 2019, if I recall correctly, the legislature has given to regional planning commissions the authority to delegate final plat approval to their staffs. In last year, in 2022, a bill passed that made that contingent on approval by the county legislative body. Unfortunately, this bill kind of slipped under the radar and nobody saw it. So what we're doing with this resolution is providing that authority going forward and also retroactive to the date that the bill became effective. And I think, I don't know if our planning commission director's here or not.
Amy's here.
I believe that there are plans to also go back and reconfirm some of the plats that were approved during this interim period, so that there won't be a problem with them going forward. So this is corrective. It's unfortunate that it was missed, but I think with the passage of this resolution, we can fix the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Law Director. Spoke with Amy this morning. My only concern was this, and it's not really a concern, is that, and they've been doing this for years, and Amy confirmed it, Director Brooks confirmed that I don't want to see a plat that has to have a BZA appeal to build a house on. And if they see that, that goes directly to planning, doesn't it, Amy? You can come down and help me out here. I don't want, a developer cannot develop a subdivision that's got to create their own appeal to the zoning board.
That's correct, Commissioner. Any time that staff comes across the need for a variance, those get either pushed to BZA or they go to the Planning Commission.
That's what you've been doing.
Yes.
Thank you very
Correct.
much.
Thank you. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Brooks, did you want to kind of give us a little more history and what's going on and how this affects your department? Is there any other issues?
There's no other, I think that Director Moyers laid it out accurately. I would say, if I can give you like what happens if you approve it versus if you don't approve it. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, so if Commission wishes to approve the resolution, Planning Commission will then be given the authority to grant staff the authority to review and approve plats with no more than 25 lots administratively, as long as they do not require a variance to the subdivision regulations or any other regulations of Knox County. And this is basically reaffirming how we've been doing business since 2019. If you all were to deny this resolution, then the Planning Commission would have to review all plats that come before, that are submitted to the Planning Commission. So regardless of the size of those plats, they'd have to go to the Planning Commission. This may add anywhere from 45 days or more to the plat review process for the vast majority of those that are submitted.
Okay. So when you say 25 or less with no variances, so that means there would not be any side or rear setback reductions that the staff now has the authority to do?
No, and those, if someone's requesting an a deviation for what the subdivision regulations require or a variance, those have to go to Planning Commission. Staff cannot approve those. So if there's concerns about that, that might be something that can be addressed during the Unified Development Ordinance.
Okay. So you're comfortable with this?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Brooks, in talking with you this morning, I think you said we identified maybe 25, 26 that might have to retroactively to May that would come before Planning Commission again, correct?
Correct. As we discussed and as Director Moyers alluded to, there were 26 plats of 26 or more that have been approved since this change.
And one thing that I did ask of Director Brooks is that those would be publicly noticed, so constituents would be able to attend those meetings. And she did explain, and I think it's important to explain to the body that when these come back before Planning Commission, this is a yes or a no vote.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Jay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 39, ordinance O-23-7-101 is amending the Knox County Code Appendix A zoning, Article 2, Section 2.20, specific terms, to amend the definition of swimming pool. This amends ordinance O-90-9-130 adopted November 10th, 1990 as amended. First reading.
Mo-
Second.
Since it's an ordinance. Right. So it needs to move forward with no recommendation, correct? Motion to move forward with no recommendation by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. There are no ordinances on second reading. There is no public forum for open topics, which brings us to other business. Madam Clerk? That's okay.
Discussion of July zoning items, numbers 41 to 47, but 41 is deferred.
Okay, it looks like we have District 6 and District 7. District 6, any concerns for your zoning items?
Not to be discussed at the workshop.
Thank you. Okay. Commission District 7, Commissioner Lee, any discussion for your zoning items?
Discuss.
Okay. Is there any further business to come before this commission? Commissioner Frazier?
I just want to wish my baby a happy birthday. He turns 18 today, so happy birthday, Maddox
wow.
Frazier.
Happy birthday. All right, motion and second to adjourn. We are adjourned.